A deafening explosion rocked the core of the city, sending a shockwave through the concrete jungle and shattering windows for blocks. Sirens screamed as chaos unfolded, and terrified screams echoed through the streets. The towering office skyscraper became an inferno, flames licking upwards viciously against the overcast sky. Within moments, the fire spread rapidly through several floors, its hunger insatiable, consuming everything in its path. Jake Williams, along with his squad, had their radios crackling to life with frantic pleas for help. As they raced towards the scene, the gravity of the task ahead bore down on them like the weight of the equipment strapped to their bodies. The air inside the fire truck was tense, silence only punctuated by the urgent blare of the siren. Jake's mind was a vortex of focused determination and undercurrents of doubt, questioning if they were truly ready for the challenges ahead. They arrived to a scene of pandemonium. Crowds had gathered despite the choking smoke that began drifting out into the open street, eyes wide with disbelief and fear. Every second counted as Jake directed his team, their training kicking in automatically. Through the haze, they could see silhouettes at the upper windows, trapped and desperate. Time seemed to warp, the roar of the flames creating a nightmarish backdrop to their operation. With the main exits now blocked by debris, their mission quickly became a heart-pounding search for any feasible escape routes through the building's core. They navigated through the building like whispers in the dark, dodging cascades of sparks and ducking beneath structural remains. Each movement was calculated, yet every corner revealed new obstacles, partial collapses, impenetrable smoke, frightened office workers who had yet to evacuate. The heat was blistering, but Jake and his team pushed forward methodically, engaging with each obstacle as if it was a step in a high-stakes chess game. The physicality of the job was demanding, sweat mixing with soot on their skin. Yet, as they braved the flames, Jake knew his biggest battle was not against the fire but within himself, battling the quiet voice of self-doubt that whispered about the limits of his own endurance and skill. The soundscape was a cacophony, a symphony of terror orchestrated by the disaster enveloping them. Sirens blared incessantly, their piercing wails cutting through the air, mingling with the roar of flames and the distant drone of fire hoses gushing torrents of water onto the infernal blaze. Flashing lights cut through the smoke, red and blue, strobing against the haze, casting long shadows that twisted and danced like specters on the walls and pavement below. The chaos was palpable, a living entity that fed on fear, urgency, and the indomitable human spirit. Firefighters shouted over the din, their voices hoarse yet resolute, as they coordinated their efforts amidst the bedlam. The acrid scent of burning materials clawed at their lungs, mingling with the oppressive heat that radiated in waves, turning glass into searing sentinels of destruction above them. Within this maelstrom, Jake Williams moved with instinctual precision, his senses heightened to their sharpest edges. The air tasted metallic, laden with ash, smoke, and the faint tang of fear that lingered heavy in the chest. His vision blurred intermittently as sweat trickled down his forehead, stinging his eyes before disappearing into the padding of his helmet. Each step he took reverberated through the soles of his boots, feeling the vibrations of the crumbling structure through the floor beneath him. The fabric of his gear rustled with every movement, a relentless reminder of the barrier between him and the surging flames. Occasionally, a flash of human emotion broke through, a cry or plea for safety reaching through the thickening soundscape of disaster. Jake's heart pounded in synchronization with the urgent rhythm of the rescue operation, a drumbeat that propelled him forward even as his mind wrestled with the monumental stakes. But despite the overwhelming sensory barrage, an underlying thread of clarity wove itself through his actions, guiding him relentlessly toward those trapped and terrified, offering them not just hope, but the promise of survival through the inferno. A jagged mosaic of images flashed before Jake's eyes as he pressed onward through the smoke-choked corridors. Shadows flickered and danced on the walls like phantoms, distorting reality and making each step a calculated gamble. Somewhere in the distance, the guttural groan of buckling steel resonated ominously, an unsettling prelude to further chaos. Amid the haze, he caught glimpses of twisted metal beams that hung from the ceiling like skeletal arms reaching for the ground. Debris littered the floor, a treacherous landscape of shattered glass and smoldering papers that crackled underfoot. Pockets of flame occasionally flared to life as though oxygen had finally found its way into the crevices, their flickering light revealing outlines of overturned desks and abandoned belongings, muted echoes of the frenetic life that once pulsed through these halls. In these fragments of reality, questions rose like the embers swirling about him. Had everyone managed to evacuate, or were there still souls trapped within these suffocating confines? Each shadow felt pregnant with possibility, a hiding place for the unseen who might still need saving. Suddenly, Jake spotted a small, moving crimson glow ahead, the unmistakable beam of a flashlight cutting through the smoky gloom, perhaps a sign of another trapped individual or an indication of a fellow rescuer in need of assistance. A child's stuffed toy lay orphaned in the chaos, smeared with ash, hinting at the innocence disrupted and the families torn apart by the catastrophe. The chime of a still operational cell phone rang out like a ghostly melody, juxtaposing the roar of destruction with a call unanswered. Every detail Jake encountered heightened the tension, weaving a tapestry of urgency and questions that played out in rapid succession. His thoughts raced as each moment seemed to stretch into eternity, testing his resolve and composure under the weight of the unknown, yet driving him ever forward, hoping his every action might make the difference between life and loss. Jake's heart pounded fiercely within his chest, each beat resonating like a drum call to action that matched the intensity of the scene unfolding around him. His breaths came in ragged gasps, tugging the oxygen through the thick, acrid air that clung to his lungs like an unyielding vice. The mask of the breathing apparatus pressed firmly against his face, creating a crucial barrier between him and the toxic haze, yet amplifying the sound of his own shaky breaths, a constant reminder of the controlled environment it offered amid the chaos. Sweat poured down his temples, trickling in relentless rivulets along his skin beneath the heavy layers of protective gear, pooling momentarily before being absorbed into the fabric. His body felt encased in a furnace, the heat relentless as it pressed in from all sides, blurring the line between external conditions and his own inner turmoil. Each pore seemed to ooze the stress of the situation, a testament to both the physical exertion and mental intensity driving him forward. The grip on his flashlight was ironclad, fingers tingling slightly from the strain, but it was a crucial tether to reality in a world rapidly obscured by smoke and uncertainty. Muscles tensed and contracted with every movement, a symphony of physical orchestration as he navigated the compromised terrain with deliberate precision and urgency. His senses were acutely aware of everything, the vibrations through his boots from frosty steel beams groaning under stress, the contrast of cool drafts against overheated skin as he moved into fresh pockets of air. Beneath his helmet, his hair clung damply to his scalp, every shift and tilt reinforcing the weight he bore. Yet, despite the chaotic surroundings and the barrage of sensations flooding his body, there was an underlying current of focus driving him on. Jake embraced the physical discomfort, using it as fuel to sharpen his resolve, a persistent reminder of the lives depending on his every choice. The overwhelming chorus of sensations underscored both the gravity of the moment and the unwavering determination rooted deep within him, preparing him to face whatever lay beyond the smoke-filled veil. Time was slipping away, each second an audible tick that seemed to resonate with the rhythmic pounding of Jake's heart. The relentless march of minutes became palpable, a weighty reminder of the dwindling window they had to rescue those still trapped inside the labyrinthine structure. Jake felt the pressing urgency like an invisible force urging him forward, reminding him that the stability of the building was compromised, the threat of collapse growing with each moment he hesitated. Over the radio, the voice of their coordinator punctuated the veil of noise with quick updates and time checks, infusing the team's every move with a sharpened edge of immediacy. Jake absorbed each word, calculating routes in his mind with a rapid precision born of training and instinct. Knowing they had but scant moments before conditions would degrade beyond any hope of salvage, he steeled himself, determined to turn seconds into a semblance of time enough to orchestrate life-saving feats. Amid this atmosphere charged with the thundering countdown, Jake's every decision was crucial, each split-second choice potentially the difference between rescue and loss. In the dim corridor, defined by smoke and shadow, the chaotic clock continued its merciless countdown. Jake broke into motion, a combination of swift deliberation and meticulous execution driving his efforts. He maneuvered through debris-strewn obstacles with calculated agility, ever conscious of the invisible sands of time slipping relentlessly away. The urgency coursed through his veins, igniting a fierce determination that burned brighter than the flames clawing at the building from within. An unshakable focus overtook him, overriding the physical toll, his steps more determined, his actions accelerated by a sense of mission's end inching inexorably closer. Jake reached out, tuning into any cries or signs of distressed life, answering their silent and urgent plea with each calculated move. Racing against the clock that ticked with remorseless precision, Jake never faltered, each heartbeat a pulse of hope driving him deeper into the crucible of smoke and time. Amid the swirling chaos and urgent clamor of the burning building, a sudden and vivid memory washed over Jake, transporting him for a fleeting moment away from the blaze. He found himself back in his living room on a lazy Sunday afternoon, the air filled with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and the soft strains of music playing in the background. Warm sunlight filtered through the curtains, casting gentle patterns across the floor, a contrast so stark it was like stepping into a different world. Jake recalled sitting at the kitchen table with a crossword puzzle in hand, a mug of steaming coffee within easy reach, and the mixed hum of distant lawnmowers and birdsong filtering in from the open window. His daughter's laughter rang out as she recounted a tale from her school day, her energy bounding through the room, weaving simple joy into the fabric of decades. Their family dog dozed lazily beside his feet, completing a scene of tranquility and contentment that suffused his senses with calm. These simple, ordinary moments replayed vividly, their tranquility underscoring the beauty of a life only possible because of their fragility. The memory offered Jake a brief respite from the heat and smoke, reminding him of the profound importance of the mission at hand, to provide others with the chance to return to their own homes, their own Sunday afternoons filled with peace and laughter. This peaceful recollection became a powerful anchor amid the turbulence, igniting a renewed resolve within him. He could feel the grounding steadiness of the memory, intertwining with his determination, fueling each of his steps forward through the maze of debris and chaos. With renewed vigor, Jake returned to the immediate urgency of his environment, now brighter, in sharp relief against the peaceful backdrop freshly minted in his mind. The dichotomy charged him with purpose, an internal call to action to safeguard the sanctity of ordinary moments for those waiting beyond the flames, their lives held in the balance. Threading through the darkened corridors, Jake's resolve was steeped in the knowledge that every effort made could restore an ordinary moment for another, a thread of light cast in relief against the surrounding darkness. Even as Jake and his team pressed through the thick smoke and intense heat, vestiges of normalcy intertwined with their urgent task, like small beacons flickering against the backdrop of chaos. John, always the upbeat voice in the group, managed to crack a joke over the radio. "Hey Jake, think they'll have coffee ready for us in there?" he quipped, his tone light even as each syllable was delivered in between the calculated breaths required to combat the fire's oppressive atmosphere. Momentarily, the tension lifted as Jake replied, "If you find some, make mine a double, no sugar," imbuing his words with a familiar warmth despite his eyes never leaving the path forward. Such exchanges were woven into their fabric as a team, habits cultivated over countless exercises and emergencies, linking them with a camaraderie that strengthened in adversity. Each member had their quirks. Sarah habitually tapped the side of her helmet twice before each mission, a ritual that seemed to protect her, both mentally and physically. Even amid the bedlam, she didn't miss a beat, the tap echoing with its own comforting rhythm. These small but meaningful interactions served as unspoken reassurances, bolstering them as they faced the unpredictability of their unpredictable environment. Vincent, who always seemed to hum a tune under his breath regardless of the situation, was recognizable even amidst the roar of flames. The same melody he recited each time he led a rescue, as much a prayer as a practice. The familiarity of these simple habits imbued an air of normalcy without dismissing the seriousness of their mission. They were threads of reliability, constant amidst the whirlwind of uncertainty, allowing them to push forward with focused determination. In Jake's mind, these moments became beacons, anchoring him while simultaneously illuminating the pathway forward through the dense haze of duty. Personal connections and quirks, woven from the past into the present, manifested a collective strength that helped transcend the immediate challenges and reminded them that behind the gear and smoke, they were not just firefighters, they were a family, a pulse of shared humanity guiding them back to safety and serenity. Beneath the confident exterior that Jake presented to his team and the world, there lay a quiet undercurrent of personal anxiety that pulsed whenever he was faced with the roaring chaos of a fire. This time was no different. He could feel it stirring as he navigated the treacherous landscape of smoke and flame, the silent voice in his mind murmuring the small, gnawing doubts that were rarely shared but always present. Jake worried about the promises he made at home, to his daughter, who would cuddle against him each night with hopeful eyes, asking if he'd be safe when he left for work the next day. He worried about his father, once a firefighter himself, whose legacy Jake strove to honor while knowing the expectations were heavy. He carried these concerns in a compartment of his heart reserved for such burdens, even if his outward demeanor never faltered. With each step deeper into the building, each rescued life heightening both the intensity and the stakes, he couldn't help but ponder the balance he maintained between heroism and the simple wish to return home tied to real faces and unspoken fears. Amidst the responsibilities, there lay the silent acknowledgement of a fear not spoken aloud to his colleagues. It existed quietly, visible only to Jake within the mirror and resurfacing in the rare, silent moments when adrenaline waned. It was the vulnerability of knowing the odds could tilt unpredictably against him, leaving those worries a reality rather than ghosts. In those quiet fragments between barked commands and dodged debris, the image of his daughter's stuffed rabbit juxtaposed with the child's toy he had nearly tripped over replayed in his mind, weaving personal history into the immediate now. These thoughts, though subdued against the roar of survival, propelled him deeper, each breath a quiet promise to return. They were emotions edged with steel, softened by latent fears but fortified by familial love, propelling Jake through the perilous environment. They were his resolve's true north, invisibly shaping each decision as he cleaved through combustive corridors. His face remained steady, but beneath the stoic surface was a father's heart, quietly capable of extraordinary feats for the simplest wish, to find his way back, unburned, to the life beyond the flames. It was a day that began like many others, the sun rising lazily over the city skyline, casting a golden sheen over buildings that quietly stood sentry. Inside the firehouse, the routines were punctuated by easy banter, cups of steaming coffee, and the familiar drone of routine tasks being ticked off one by one. The team fell into their practiced rhythm, checking equipment, polishing trucks, and sharing updates, their camaraderie an unspoken bond woven by shared purpose. But tranquility can be a mere whisper before the storm, and as it often does, everything changed in an instant. The shrill, commanding wail of the alarm erupted through the building, cutting cleanly through the ordinary like a summons from fate itself. All movement stilled for a split second, the world suspended in that brief moment before the practiced choreography kicked into gear. Then, urgency took over as dispatched orders crackled sharply over the radios, overlaid with the clipped articulation of a situation unfurling dangerously fast. A high-rise engulfed, lives in peril, and the city turning its eyes upon them to answer the call. Jake's heart quickened with adrenaline, the anticipatory rush surging hot through his veins as the detailed coordinates and situation reports unfolded. Ladder 49, possible victims trapped on multiple levels, the dispatch voice stated, laden with gravity, as the team rocked into action. They moved with swift efficiency, sliding into their gear with the muscle memory honed from years of preparation leading to this very moment. Firehouse doors parted heavily, revealing the street beyond that awaited their intervention, a city that needed saving from the gaping maw of calamity. Jake's thoughts crystallized around the mission at hand, condensing the myriad concerns and complexities down to a resolute focus. As they rolled out, sirens wailing a clarion call through the morning air, Jake cast a final glance at the rearview mirror capturing the retreating firehouse, silently reaffirming his vow to return. The air outside was electric, the city alive with urgency and anticipation, and as the engine roared through the streets, the team was unified by purpose, steeled against the promise of fire by the enduring resolve that filled the spaces between the blaring horns and flashing red lights. They were once again, inexorably bound to the call, and ready to meet it. The firehouse hummed with its usual morning rhythms, but the serene melody swiftly broke with the sudden shrill of the alarm bell, reverberating off the walls and slicing through the atmosphere like a razor. Radios sprang to life with a sense of gravity carried in each word, the dispatcher's voice steady yet laced with urgency. Attention, all units. Structure fire at 2857 East Hawthorne, high-rise building. Multiple reports of heavy smoke and visible flames. Possible victims trapped on floors 10 through 15. Ladder 49, be advised, engage immediately, and prepare for potential mass evacuation. The team snapped into action as every instruction piggybacked urgency, each syllable serving as a harbinger of the task awaiting them. The words carved themselves into Jake's mind, imprinting the dire situation as reality swelled around them, transforming routine into rapid response. The gravity of the situation unfolded meticulously through the dispatcher's articulation, cementing the reality they had trained long and hard to confront. Clipped and clear, those words simmered in Jake's consciousness, directing him through the practiced procedure of suiting up as the enormity of the unfolding emergency solidified. The precise call to action formulated a framework of urgency, commanding both the attention and resolve of all on the team. Staring at his reflection in the fire truck's window, Jake could almost hear his own heart echoing the relentless drum of the situation. With each piece of gear securely in place, he felt the familiar weight of his responsibilities settling around him, mirrored in the earnest determination etched across every face in the crew. As the heavy firehouse doors groaned open, leading into the awakening city beyond, a unified sense of duty surged through them. The siren ripped through the burgeoning morning, resonating alongside the dispatcher's words that spurred their mission. As they rolled out, every moment of readiness was encapsulated in their unspoken vow to safeguard lives against the voracious flames, their own pulse beating in tandem with the relentless urgency transmitted through the routine frequency of their call to heroism. The moment the radios crackled with the dispatcher's grave orders, the atmosphere within the firehouse underwent a profound transformation. Casual talk and laughter dissipated, replaced by a palpable tension, like air suddenly charged with static before a storm. Faces that had been animated moments ago were now etched with the stark lines of concentration and resolve, their expressions a mirror of the formidable task that lay ahead. The firehouse buzz became a taut silence, save for the rhythmic rustle of gear being donned and the turning of heavy boots on concrete. Eyes that were once relaxed now focused intensely, calculating the stakes and the route, unspoken words filling the spaces between them, thick with an understanding that transcended language. Jake felt the shift keenly, razor sharp. It honed his senses and galvanized his will, transforming camaraderie into a potent collective seriousness. In this quiet, every click of buckles and zippers spoke of the readiness to face whatever awaited at East Hawthorne. As they climbed into the truck, the steady, familiar rumble beneath them underscored the escalating determination each carried. Conversation was scant now, confined to necessary communications, each word spoken into the hurried silence charged with purpose. Jake surveyed his team, faces set like stone, eyes filled with fire's reflection yet also resolute defiance. The transition from routine to urgency seemed complete, camaraderie harnessed into a formidable force against the unknown challenges ahead. Each firefighter's silence was not an absence of sound but a commitment to focus, an agreement forged after countless drills and shared experiences. It was understood that their unity and solidarity would see them safely through the hellscape they soon faced. Jake's own doubts were momentarily set aside, replaced by the heavy mantle of leadership and the clear, unwavering intent to bring every person back. The essence of their purpose pulsed through the silence, echoing within the cab as they drew nearer to the fire, ready to meet it with the steely resolve etched across their faces. The world outside fell away, leaving them contained within a cocoon of determination, a convergence of individual strength and unwavering collective resolve, ready to execute their mission. Amidst the din of preparations, the art of focus manifested in the practiced ritual of checking gear, an act as routine as it was sacred. Jake moved with meticulous attention, his hands deftly inspecting the breathing apparatus clamped securely over his torso. Each adjustment carried the weight of experience, his fingers running automatically over the straps and buckles, ensuring every piece fit snugly where strength and mobility demanded precision. Nearby, his teammates mirrored this ritual, each firefighter running through their mental checklist as if rehearsing a well-loved tune. Jake watched as Sarah examined her helmet, the reflective strips gleaming back reassurance, while Vincent methodically looped and secured his fire-resistant gloves with practiced care. Every motion was deliberate, transformed by the understanding that each seemingly mundane action was a lifeline, a tether between safeguarding their lives and despair. In these moments before engaging the fierce unknown, the room hung heavy with the gravity of their task, yet their focus cut through doubt like a scalpel through fog. Tools were accounted for, hoses coiled tightly and secure, axes resting within easy reach of readiness. Silence held dominance, filled only by the distinct sound of oxygen tanks clicking and belts snapping into place, a symphony of commitment in increments of protective gear clinking against the textured floor. Jake gave his flashlight its standard click test, the beam slicing through the ambient like a pledge for clarity in the smoke. As he faced his crew, a final nod exchanged as silent assurance collectively acknowledged the bond beneath their gear. The environment became less firehouse, more congregation point of collected resolve and honed reflexes. All preparations in place, every piece of equipment secure and double-checked, Jake felt the room compress time into the present necessity. No anxiety or rushing marred their preparation. The team operated within the synchrony of muscle memory, each gear check an offering to both their skill and the relentless uncertainty waiting beyond the engine's idling roar. Focused and fortified, they stepped as one unit into the belly of the truck, their mission clear and their spirits as tempered as the metal shielding their bodies. As the fire engine surged forward, each heartbeat resonated with meters closing between them and the imagined fronts of fiery confrontation. With engines revved and the air thick with anticipation, the fire truck rumbled to life, shifting firmly from its resting place into action, leaving behind the safety and structure of the firehouse. The firehouse doors, metallic and steadfast, rolled upwards, parting like curtains to unveil the stage where bravery would soon meet the unrelenting flames. As the massive vehicle rolled forward, the clamor of its machinery cut through the cool morning air like a herald of purpose. Sirens blared into existence, their echo slicing through the commonplace, distant city hum, creating an auditory beacon that blazed outward, scattering across the city blocks ahead. It was the sound of resolve, the wailing sirens tunefully broadcasting a message of readiness and urgency as Jake and his team steeled themselves to face the crisis unraveling blocks away. The world outside blurred into a kaleidoscope of movement and light as the truck picked up speed, every rotation of its tires carrying the weight of their mandate. Inside the compartment, the team sat in composed silence, the weight of their gear familiar but comforting, like armor for the pending storm. The auxiliary lights flickered internally, casting a rhythmic dance of reds and blues across their focused faces, synchronic with the beat of their accelerating heartbeat. The urban landscape reeled by at a swift cadence, the fire truck weaving determinedly through the flow of city life, pedestrians who turned with curiosity, bustling cars parting like water before the prow of a great ship. Every bump on the road, every swerve ingrained into muscle memory, served to remind them of the resolute path they had chosen. And amid this mechanical ballet, the essential hum of disciplined breath and snug gear adjusting underscored a unified anticipation. A marker of preparation not just for fire, but the human stories entangled within each burning structure awaiting their intervention. Each firefighter on edge, they exchanged glances painted briefly in the flicker of passing street lamp, a united yet unspoken promise resonating to transform the fiery battlefield into a haven of survival once again. As they approached the site, the imagined landscape of their mission began to blend into stark, impending reality, their vessel holding steady its course against the rising crescendo of urgency. Inside the fire truck, the hum of the engine was the dominant voice, a low, constant vibration that reverberated through their bones and connected the space shared by the team. The residual chatter of radios provided the occasional static-laden backdrop, punctuating the silence with updates and acknowledgments, but words were sparse, reserved for necessary communication only. The atmosphere was heavy, like the charged calm before a storm, filled with anticipation and the weight of collective focus as if the very air demanded their undivided attention. Each firefighter was lost in thought, minds navigating through a map of strategy and potential hazards, their eyes fixed on the horizon veiled in uncertainty. They each knew the plan, had rehearsed the steps and contingencies, yet remained acutely aware of the landslide potential for deviation within any operation. The silence in the cab served as its own language, articulating both assurance and resolve in the absence of spoken conversation. Jake's eyes met Sarah's for a mere second, an unspoken relay of confidence that buoyed them both, even as his grip on the steering wheel tightened with the knowledge of what lay ahead. Nearby, Vincent adjusted his helmet with a single nod, a muted affirmation that echoed commitment more potently than any words could conjure. Each firefighter's gear, polished and familiar against the fading streetlights, was a reminder of their purpose and the steadfast courage needed to carry it through. The cityscape stretched before them, melding into a tapestry of neon and asphalt washed in early sunlight, symbols of life they were charged to protect. In this dense quiet, each member fortified their resolve, steadfast in the shared understanding that upon arrival, their minimal dialogue would shift to an eloquence of action. They sat tight, heartbeats synchronic with each rotation of the wheels as the fire truck hurtled forward like a resolute messenger, carrying both the mission and the silent solemnity of their commitment toward its fiery destination. As the fire truck roared through the city streets, each firefighter seated inside conjured a mental image of the scene that awaited them, filling the silence with silent contemplations of potential challenges. Jake's mind spun through a series of worst-case scenarios, bringing into focus the vivid chaos they might confront upon arrival. He envisioned towering pillars of smoke, dark and foreboding, spiraling upward to obscure the morning sun and casting an ominous shadow over everything below. Flames flickered through shattered windows, licking hungrily at the edges of the high-rise like a beast trying to break free. The acrid stench of burning materials mingled with the clamor of blaring alarms and the distant cries for help, building a harrowing sensory tapestry that painted the stakes with uncomfortable clarity. Against this imagined backdrop, the team would have just minutes to assess the structural integrity, determine points of entry, and devise a quick but decisive attack strategy to combat the blaze and locate survivors. Each imagined scenario carried its own burden and victory, underscoring the perpetual dynamic between fear and preparedness. Jake visualized the stairwells and hallways shrouded in dense, life-choking smoke, with visibility reduced to almost nothing. The potential sounds of confused screams and frantic footsteps echoed sharply in his mind, the human element amidst the chaos that could shift the balance of time and consequence. He braced mentally for floors weakened by heat and flame, precarious ground that could betray them at any moment. He pictured people trapped on upper floors, perhaps disoriented by fear or misdirection, waiting for the steady, determined footsteps of a firefighter to find them. In the mental theater of crisis, he ran through lists of equipment needs and firefighting methods designed for rapid deployment under strained circumstances. Though tense, each scenario also fueled their purpose, sharpening focus and determination. Beneath the surface, the edge honed by countless drills and unyielding courage. Jake gripped the steering wheel tightly as these thoughts swirled with precision around his consciousness, steeling himself to confront reality, knowing that however the situation unfolded, they'd be met with unwavering resolve and a will forged stronger than the fire before them. As the truck sped toward the fire, Jake's thoughts momentarily drifted to the sanctuary of home, a brief interlude offering both solace and quiet determination. In his mind, he conjured the image of his daughter, her bright smile and laughter like sunshine cutting through storm clouds. He recalled mornings spent idly sitting at the kitchen table with her, watching as she tackled her breakfast with youthful cheer. She had a penchant for stacking her pancake slices into impossibly tall towers, an architect in syrup and batter, her imagination boundless and unconstrained. "How many pancakes would it take to reach the sky, Dad?" she'd asked once, her eyes wide with innocent curiosity. The memory drew a brief, warm smile from Jake even now, the sweetness imbibed with a hint of vulnerability and resolve. In these recollections lay the poise and grounding he needed, a simple promise to see his work through, to come home once again where love awaited beyond the firefight. At the forefront of his mind also loomed memories of his wife, her unwavering support evident through years marked by shifting schedules and the infinite sphere of uncertainty that accompanied his chosen path. Sometimes, she would wait up with a cup of tea in hand, weary though smiling, ready to hear the stories he could share while tucking away those that were too heavy to relive aloud. Her love fortified him in the knowledge that his persona expanded beyond the firefighting walls, into a home filled with warmth and understanding. He thought of the last family outing, just a week ago, a trip to the park, where they'd watched their daughter twirl in a dance of pure abandon among the autumn leaves. "Take care of yourself," his wife had whispered that morning as he departed the threshold. Her words were neither a plea nor a request, they were a protective enchantment, cast upon him to guide his return. They resonated even now, as the world outside blurred into an urgent crescendo of mission and motion. These thoughts and fragments of memory, gentle yet resilient, remained his compass as the fire roared ever closer, steering him unwaveringly toward both his professional duty and his personal devotion. Even as the fire truck barreled through the streets, there existed an unspoken unity among the team, a silent accord that transcended words and permeated the atmosphere they shared. It was a vow, etched in the quiet spaces between their breaths, to embody the collective strength of their number, to rise as one entity against the impending chaos. Each firefighter's focus lay, not merely on personal safety, but on the collaborative effort to extinguish flames and prevent the fire from claiming more than it already had. This camaraderie was tempered by countless calls answered, their bond a testament to shared trials and triumphs that had long since forged them into a singular force with a unified heartbeat. These firefighters, each a vital link in the chain, felt the weight of the promise they bore, to have each other's backs and work as a perfect machine honed by dedication and experience. The truck's rhythmic roll, punctuated by the siren's wail, was not just a call to action but a crusade of intention. Eyes met in brief glances, each gaze an affirmation of readiness filled with resolute purpose. Shadows played across their faces, highlighting the determined lines drawn across features sculpted by resolve. Collectively, they held the knowledge that every action they took inside the inferno would be in service of a higher aim, to save lives, preserve safety, and return in solidarity. As they approached the inevitable clash between flame and fortitude, the unity they felt was an immense force, stripping away the apprehension of uncertainty. In their silence lay a formidable promise, not merely to extinguish the blaze, but to shoulder its fury together, lifting its burden with an unyielding spirit. This covenant of brotherhood and purpose transcended the physical boundaries of the truck, becoming an incandescent beacon lighting their path toward the imminent fiery beacon. It was this silent, unswerving pact that would guide them as they pressed onward, unwavering and determined, ready to be both relentless and resolute in the face of adversity. As the fire truck approached the scene, the full scope of the chaos unveiled itself, a maelstrom of elements converging with a radical intensity. From a distance, thick billows of black smoke curled malevolently into the sky, a dark column that seemed to tether the earth to a tumultuous, looming storm. The acrid plume twisted and merged with the clouded canopy above, casting a sordid shadow that stretched far across the urban landscape. Orange tongues of flame intermittently licked and retreated behind shattered windows, their light fencing defiantly against the tenebrous shroud. Amidst this dissonant tableau, the high-rise stood as a beleaguered titan, its facade scarred and marked by soot-lined patterns that whispered of the ravenous destruction inside. Despite the obscuring smoke, the flashes of emergency lights painted jagged rhythms of red and blue across the surrounding buildings and streets, an urgent pulse that signaled the critical unrest below. On the ground, a symphony of shouting voices mingled as a confused cacophony in the ambient air, echoing pleas and authoritative directives alike. First responders moved with calculated urgency, navigating the pandemonium with a determined purpose that contrasted sharply against the backdrop of panicked civilians. People rushed through the streets, some offering aid while others sought safety, their forms rendered ghost-like by the murky veil of smoke. A chorus of horns blared intermittently as distressed drivers attempted to maneuver away from the scene, the frantic symphony of noise underscored by the radio dispatches crackling methodically through clipped static. In the midst of this chaotic dance, the fire truck cut through like a guiding force, steadfast in its inexorable path toward the heart of the crisis. From a distance, the chaotic landscape was a vision of urgency and desperation, each element conspiring to lend weight to the imminent demands awaiting the firefighters now arriving. Yet, amidst the confusion and fire's embrace, there was no confusion in purpose. It lay as clear as the siren's piercing wail, reverberating between the Titan high-rise and the beleaguered city it inhabited. As the fire truck came to a decisive halt amidst a cacophony of chaos, Jake and his team swiftly disembarked, their boots hitting the asphalt with determined purpose. The snapshots of chaos seen from a distance now exploded into a vivid immediacy as the team took in the scene with rapid, experienced eyes. Smoke snaked aggressively from the upper floors, swirling tendrils clawing at the sky as if trying to unfurl banners of warning in the air. Jake immediately scanned the building's facade, noting the areas most compromised by visible flames and the patterns etched by smoke. His mind quickly processed environmental indicators. Flickers of light betrayed the presence of fire in the upper floors, windows singed and shattering, hemorrhaging both glass and heat. The team moved into a calculated formation, each member acutely aware of their role within the choreographed dance of urgency. As Sarah took up the task of guiding civilians away from imminent hazards, urging them with calm authority to evacuate the area safely, Vincent assessed the building's exterior for potential structural threats. Out came radios, crackling to life as they relayed interpretations of the situation to firefighters already inside. Fires moving north to south on floors 12 to 14, Jake announced into his radio, his voice laced with commanding resolve. His judgment was not arbitrary, drawn instead from the sights and sounds before him combined with the most recent updates filtering urgently through the static. With helmets secured and equipment firmly in hand, Jake's team completed their assessment in mere, crucial moments. Calls for additional support reverberated through the airwaves, harmonizing with the standby readiness of reinforcements already advancing toward the budding inferno. Collectively, the team turned their findings into definitive action, recalibrating their initial strategies with practiced efficiency to combat the tangible threat looming beyond the smoke-plagued threshold. Shouting directives interspersed with measured breaths while each firefighter felt the purpose unifying them, propelling their fight against a capricious adversary that demanded both precision and grace under pressure. With instinctual precision, Jake's team fell into a seamless rhythm, their training dictating the silent assignment of roles as chaos swirled around them. The urgency of the situation demanded quick action, yet within the fervor lay the smooth orchestra of predetermined roles taking center stage. Jake, eyes scanning the beleaguered structure, nodded tersely towards Sarah, who was already moving into position. Her role as the point for civilian evacuation was intrinsic, second nature, a testament to her ability to maintain order amidst disorder. The crowd loomed as a dynamic obstacle, and with her assurance as a guiding presence, she began shepherding people to designated safety zones. Timeless communication bound her actions to Jake's silent nod, an eloquent beacon signaling the transition from plan to execution. Without needing explicit directives, roles manifested through experience refined by countless drills echoed in silent acknowledgement. Nearby, Vincent readied equipment and began a critical frontline assessment, his task clear without needing affirmation. Structural evaluation lay within his domain. His eyes canvassed the building's potential weaknesses, working methodically to identify any point of entry most viable for firefighter access. As hoses unfurled with the coiled promise of resilience, Jake moved towards the commander nearest deployment of firefighting operations inside the burning space. His directive relayed strategies based on his rapid exterior assessment in sync with Vincent's intelligence. Meanwhile, other team members gravitated towards action dictated by their critical roles, engaging apparatus, ensuring a fluidity of water supply, preparing breathing apparatuses for optimal safety. As dynamic as the flowing smoke, these role assumptions unfolded nearly wordlessly, threaded together through loyalty and trust founded long before this fire began its ravenous ascent. Each firefighter crescendoed into motion, a seeming improvisation tightly choreographed to leverage strengths against the harsh backdrop of impending adversity. Together, seamlessly bound by the silent command of unity, Jake and his team stepped boldly into the inferno, resolute, driven, and undaunted. As the team advanced into their positions, the flames inside the building began spiraling with an unpredictable ferocity, seemingly driven by the stubborn whim of the wind filtering through shattered windows. A trouble signal crackled across the radio, its harsh tone scratching through the usual crisp efficiency. Jake, structural engineering reports destabilization. Northeastern stairwell is compromised, came the dispatch's grave voice, laced with a hint of tension. This development buzzed through their ordered plan, instantly reshaping the attack strategy in Jake's mind. The stairwell, a critical escape route and avenue for firefighting ingress, now posed an obstacle that could sever potential paths out or leave firefighters stranded in treacherous spots. Any misstep or delay threatened to turn calculated risk into perilous uncertainty. Quick reassessment was demanded, yet the familiar hum of camaraderie beneath urgency remained constant even as minds raced heroically to resolve nearing calamity. Without missing a beat, communication between team members snapped into accelerated urgency, the pulse of action demanding real-time ingenuity. Vincent adjusted rapidly, scouting alternative points of entry. Cross-referencing maps within seconds, he eyed the south side as an emergent access, a potential course devoid of contamination from the failing structure. Jake, absorbing this new plan, knew instinctively the recalibration needed shared acknowledgement of the high stakes intersecting their swift negotiation. South Passage. Jake barked into his headset, directing the team collectively yet unambiguously to shift their focus, like a compass point redirected amid turbulent seas. Sarah, even while coordinating civilians, attuned inwardly as the directive wove through her consciousness, assisting in rerouting as needed. With smoke still clawing aggressively overhead, the unpredictable dynamic of shifting landmarks unfolded. Yet this fresh adversity only reinforced their integrity as a team, sculptured by trust and prowess forged time and again beneath the fiery mantle. Their seamless adaptation was a testament to every drill, every trial, each firefighter's courage entwined in the delicate weave of quicksilver teamwork poised against fate's misstep. Bolstered by their collective resilience, the unanticipated complication formed an inner rallying force, propelling them further into the maw, steadfast against adversity's newfound shade. With their determination recalibrated toward the south entrance, Jake led his team forward, a resolute vanguard against the encroaching inferno. The fiery behemoth roared in defiance, its intensity a tangible force pushing back against their advance. Smoke clawed relentlessly around them, obscuring vision and wrapping each firefighter in a dense shroud that pressed down with unrelenting weight. Yet their resolve held steadfast, each member synced in focus, breathing regulated through the comforting rhythm provided by their apparatus. Armored in faith fused with gear, the team reached the subsidiary entrance, a looming portal choked by flame-hardened barriers. Without hesitating, they set to work, axes cleaving into debris, the crunch of splintering wood and echo of focused exertion intermingling with the cavernous tumult inside. Suddenly the barrier gave way, a breach aligned with both strategy and intent. The path forward lay ahead, smoke-choked corridors waiting, their suffocating tendrils swirling into columns of foreboding. Passages dark yet defined in urgency beckoned them forward. Without a pause, Jake motioned his team inward, each step deliberate, propelling them deeper into the heart of chaos. Their steady advance became a beacon of resolution against the swirling storm, an eloquent ballet of courage woven through the crucible. The environment undulated before them, flames leaping through shattered remnants, promising peril that strained their clarity. Jake maintained communication through quick directives echoing through headsets, with each firefighter adhering to their role, extracting coordination from empathy-honed discipline. As they pressed into smoke's embrace, purposeful movement withstood the challenge of heat-borne shadows, turning fear into momentum. Their entry was not merely an act of courage, it became a testament to resolve's unfaltering power, the harmony of a team transcending obstacles to engage in the orchestrated rescue of the unknown souls to whom they would now offer salvation in the face of relentless adversity. The conditions within the building were a visceral assault on the senses, a hostile world where disorientation lurked at every turn. The corridor loomed dark and oppressive, its boundaries distorted by the undulating motion of thick smog that clung persistently to the air. A furnace-like heat ebbed through the labyrinthine interior, wrapping around the firefighters with an intensity that sought to break both body and spirit. Flames darted out from hidden alcoves, casting erratic shadows that danced eerily across walls, shapes shifting with flickers of malevolent intent. The constant cacophony of crackling wood and the occasional distant crash of collapsing infrastructure formed a symphony of dread, echoing ominously through the desolate expanse. It was as if the building itself was in a state of perpetual torment, threatening to swallow those who dared to pass through its fiery grasp. Navigating this perilous environment demanded concentration as razor-sharp as the smoke was dense, every step calculated amidst the chaos. Vision was compromised, the orange glow of fire obscured by thick tendrils of ash-laden fog that swallowed up the pale beams of flashlight. Breathing apparatus groaned against the insistence of the toxic atmosphere, each inhalation a bulwark against invisible dangers. Surfaces underfoot betrayed their structural weaknesses, creaking under the tremendous weight they were scarcely designed to bear. Unseen obstacles lay strewn across their path, shards of glass, shattered beams, remnants of a once thriving professional space now reduced to ruin. Each sound insinuated threat, from the low moan of stressed joists under pressure to the sporadic shriek of twisting metal. Yet amid the distorted landscape, Jake and his team pushed onward, their resolve to overcome tempered by a unity that transcended the maelstrom around them. In this crucible of fire and smoke, the clauses of time seemed stretched, moments inflating into echoes of eternities as they moved through, each challenge a testament to their unwavering courage and finesse against a backdrop of wrathful fury. Amidst the fiery turmoil, the line between instinct and strategy blurred into a single, sharpened edge carried by each firefighter. Jake led his team with a discerning eye, his movements dictated as much by gut feeling as by tactical forethought. Every step he took invoked a delicate balancing act. Precision was paramount as his senses worked in concert with the training ingrained deeply within him. The smoke-choked environment demanded adaptability, a keen awareness that captured both the immediate danger and the broader perspective of their mission. Behind his focus, Jake felt the reassuring weight of his equipment, tools specific to each need, laboriously honed for responsiveness. Even amid the chaos, strategic decisions cemented a sense of order, guiding the team forward with an authoritative clarity that cut through the cacophony of burning rubble and creaking timber. His radio crackled with vital updates, voices weaving instructions and necessary adjustments from other parts of the operation. In concert, the real-time information shaped his response and dictated the flow of their push deeper into the inferno. His team, intuitive and synchronized, shared a collective pulse, their instincts harmonizing with precisely calibrated action to roam through corridors. Sarah flanked the path ahead, her vigilance carving a way for their advance, while Vincent's keen perception outlined risks obscured beneath blackened surfaces. Their forward momentum carried the weight of objectives distilled in real time, each subtask orchestrated under duress yet executed with the grace of seasoned athletes. Strategy extended beyond action. It pervaded the thickened air with a certain poetry, even as adverse elements bore down relentlessly upon them. At every twist or turn of the path, processes mapped with confidence ensured safety, extinguished threat, and propelled them through with a resilience that unfalteringly maintained strength in numbers, a steadfast testament to competence under fire in its purest form. Amid the sweltering embrace of the raging inferno, every moment presented a symphony of raw physical sensations intensified by the mounting stress. The oppressive heat enveloped Jake like an omnipresent entity, smothering any transient comfort with relentless fervor. Every inch of his skin felt tight under the sweat-soaked gear, the fabric clinging desperately as if seeking refuge from the flames. His breaths came in measured, deliberate intervals, each inhalation through the mask carrying an arid whisper of oxygen burdened by the metallic tang of smoke. Each heartbeat resonated like a distant drum, steady yet insistent, a constant reminder of both human vulnerability and resilience amidst a backdrop of chaos. The weight of his equipment seemed magnified, pressing against shoulders and spine, adding a tangible layer of fatigue that attempted to erode his resolve with every forward push. The fierce crackle of timber succumbing to flames became a constant rhythm, one underscored by Jake's own heavy footsteps echoing over the treacherous terrain. With muscles taut and poised, ready to react, every nerve tingled in hyper-awareness, an elevated state where adrenaline underscored the drive to press onward. The mask, though essential, created a bubble, each movement amplified by the cacophony that seemed magnified within its confines. Jake felt every subtle shift in temperature as they moved through threshold after threshold, tangible shifts as hot air currents clashed against cooler pockets. The taste of soot lingered persistently, a sharp accent on the back of his tongue, merging with the soft puffs of air escaping into the harsh environment with each breath. Through all this sensory overload, Jake maintained focus with disciplined determination, his body's protests overridden by an unwavering drive tethered to the mission and his fundamental duty to save lives. This intense cocktail of physical sensations weaved itself around him, stimulating the type of clarity only found in such crucibles of pressure. It was physical, it was visceral, and above all, it amplified the precious balance of life and duty for those immersed in its challenges. Amidst the frantic ballet of smoke and flame, Jake's flashlight beam sliced through the haze like a lifeline, illuminating an unexpected silhouette huddled at the far end of a half-collapsed office. A figure emerged within the shifting shadows, huddled defensively against the onslaught of heat. It was a woman, her face streaked with soot and fear, her eyes wide yet frozen in an emotional tableau framed by desperation and hope. Her presence instantaneously shifted the stakes, elevating the scene from perilous to profoundly personal. Jake could feel the weight of her plight mingling with the harrowing atmosphere, her struggle etched clearly as a plea within the air. The boundaries of their respective worlds, rescuer and trapped, merged into a singular mission, honing his focus with the precision born only of empathy. The lethal environment around her seemed to crescendo with a sudden urgency, flames dancing closer, turning the spectacle into an amphitheater of fire threaded with fragile human resolve. Even as the crumbling plaster dusted her hair with the telltale marks of danger, resilience gleamed in her tear-lined gaze, revealing a potential ally in survival. Jake's voice, steady yet laced with both command and reassurance, reached across the tempest of chaos. "We're here to get you out," he said, anchoring her amidst the frenzied uncertainty that surrounded them. But it wasn't just a promise of safety, it was a vow to overcome fear together, an unspoken agreement that every stretched moment from this point forward teetered on the edge of escape. During those suspended seconds, time seemed to elongate, a bridge connecting determination with fragility as their intentions aligned. Her trust illuminated the path forward, keenly felt in the heightened stakes that pulsed between them. A new tide of disciplined action surged through Jake, fueled by the unyielding resolve to transform possible tragedy into salvation, knitting the narrative of rescue with threads of humanity. The very air itself seemed to tremble with urgency as Jake assessed the escalating threat enclosed within the building's structure. Flames danced frenetically around them, casting their taunting shadows onto walls draped in rippling heat. The incessant ticking within Jake's mind counted down in a tempo synchronized with the relentless pace of flame and time, both tightening like vice grips around his senses. The roar of the inferno grew in volume, punctuated by the foreboding groan of the building's very bones, the structure's walls and ceilings surrendering in unsettling crescendo. This audible presage of collapse underscored the implicit deadline offset by heavy seconds stretched thin. Each snap and crack resonated through the floor beneath his boots, bringing to the forefront the stark reality of mortality lurching ever closer. Every delay, measured not in minutes but heartbeats, threatened to unravel their tenuous pathway from peril to safety. Jake found his voice merging with that silent urgency, his calm delivery threading through the cacophony. "We need to move, now," Jake urged, his words forming a bridge to guide her actions beyond the immediate panic. The woman nodded, eyes fixed on his, their horizon of shared determination cutting clearly through the haze. Her courage inspired action, grounding them amid frenetic uncertainty. As they navigated the treacherous path back, Jake signaled to his team, their comprehension immediate and clear through the flicker of flashlights and gestures. Precise movements threaded each step with caution dictated by swift experience. Smoke clogged the air, adhering to gear, but resolve cut clean lines amidst its turmoil. They moved swiftly yet intentionally, the woman's steps echoing a newfound purpose parallel to Jake's guidance. The symphony of groans from stressed beams and the roar of encroaching flames crescendoed, a dissonant soundtrack to their desperate bid for escape. Time grappled tightly, squeezing their mission into a deliberate march toward survival, focused by constellations of determination amidst a universe of adversity. With every heartbeat drumming louder in their chests, Jake knew they were racing time itself, hearts steeled against the inevitable, united against the judgment of unpredictability and calamity. As Jake led his team and the rescued woman through the choking haze, the labyrinthine path twisted before them, presenting a high-risk division point framed by dwindling options. They reached a juncture where the smoke thickened in one direction, obscuring visibility and feeding the encroaching flames hiding within its depths, while the other path offered an alternative route fraught with structural instability, a teetering reminder that the building was on the brink of capitulation. The oppressive heat pressed in on all sides, emphasizing the urgency of their decision. Jake's thoughts raced, quickly weighing their chances against both options, assessing the viability of success and the potential cost of error. It was a moment frozen in time, where instinct met strategy head-on, challenging his command and understanding of the volatile arena. His eyes skimmed the frantic scene, meeting his teammates' equally focused gazes as they too absorbed the gravity of the moment. Jake's decision had to be swift, precise, forged by clarity distilled amidst the chaos. The thick smoke obscured any guarantee of safe passage, yet the risk of structural collapse from pursuing the seemingly exodus was tangible and immediate. Letting instinct blend with experience, Jake assessed their equipment and the condition of those under his care. "We press through the smoke," he commanded, choosing the path hidden beneath shadowy veils with their resources reinforcing his choice. His resolve was sharpened by the need for decisive action, an endeavor tied to the unwavering trust of the teammates accompanying him there. Without further delay, the team thrust forward, driven by the necessity to confront uncertainty with the courage of conviction, the woman leaning on their shared strength to navigate each step. With every heartbeat calibrated, it was a passage intertwining immediate danger with the unbreakable spirit of those who dared to push toward salvation, regardless of the fire's cruel attempts to obscure the way. They moved as one, Jake leading with a commander's confidence, supported by a team's resolve, each moment a testament to the pursuit of life infused with high-stakes bravery and unflagging determination. Facing the fiery maw of uncertainty, Jake's mind raced as he considered the precarious balance between safety and responsibility. The team progressed together, but as they reached a tighter bottleneck cloaked in dense smoke and compounded chaos, Jake realized the path forward required a sacrifice. Eyeing the creaking ceiling above and faint outlines moving through the smoke-flanked corridor, he knew that leading them through the tight convergence could put the entire group at risk, risking not only their lives but also the lives tied to successful rescue operations. The weight of command whispered determination into his ear, as the scales tipped towards immediate action. With the team scattered close, relying on inner strength, Jake turned briefly, meeting their questioning gazes with steeled resolve. "I'll clear ahead and guide you through. Keep her close and follow my signal when it's clear," he directed, his voice calm yet resonating with urgency. Respecting his decision, the team understood the gambit Jake was about to pursue, feeling his assuredness settle over them like a mantle of guidance. Pushing into the corridor alone was a calculated gamble, teetering on the edge of perilous courage, but it was one tethered to his belief in a purpose beyond himself. As Jake pressed forward, the oppressive smoke rose to meet him, licking insistently at the seams of his consciousness like ephemeral hands. His heart beat an assertive cadence, urging steady resolve as his breathing razor focused through disciplined practice. Each step was heavy with a promise to break the hidden barrier that lay ahead, his path led by the flicker of determination and the smoldering shadow that surrounded him. The flames loomed like a cathedral of unpredictability, arches defined by fire's cruel embrace, yet through the chaos there lay the whisper of a path, a tangible hint of relief mingled with fear's cacophony. This task was solitary, yet like ripples spiraling outward, its success rested on the interconnectedness of trust and fidelity to mission. Amid flame's embrace, Jake was the beacon, a solitary figure charting destiny's course with each deliberate stride forward, resolute in his vow to reclaim strength's compass amidst inferno's tumultuous roar. The escape route was a slender passage carved impossibly between the twin threats of imminent collapse and ravenous flame, a narrow artery leading through the heart of chaos into the hope of relief. Shadows crept insidiously along the walls, blackened and blistered by embers that danced like malevolent spirits, their incandescence pulsating with foreboding beauty. The air, thick with soot and pulsating heat, seemed alive with desperation, each breath laden with sulfur and smoke, challenging resolve and endurance. Jake's flashlight, flickering bravely against the gloom, illuminated the twisted remnants of infrastructure barely holding the weight of the world above. Overhead, ceiling tiles swamped by smoke swirled ominously, threatening to descend like guillotine blades in unwelcome moments. Beneath his boots, the floor groaned a haunting protest, accentuating the fragile nature of their chosen path, each footfall a negotiation with uncertain footing. As Jake maneuvered through the constraints of the passage, the corridor became a crucible, pressure thick, walls closing in like jaws aligning for a decisive snap. The way forward was a focused medley of agile movements and acute awareness, balancing quick reflexes with the precision of foresight. Sweat mingled with soot, streaking his face beneath the mask, lending a stark clarity to the mission he bore. Every gain of a step was tempered by the vicious drafts of heat that scorched his spine, whispering threats and promises in equal measure. Beyond, the silhouette of the exit loomed not as deliverance, but a gossamer veil, one that seemed fatally close yet teasingly distant within the enveloping chaos. The flames' roar crescendoed, a dissonant symphony reminding Jake of time's cruel march. His resolve flowed out into the narrow corridor like an unstoppable current, compelling each motion anew, tethered to conviction and the rhythm of the heartbeats of those trailing behind. Each step closer to escape became an echo of their declaration, an unfaltering plea for survival etched against a backdrop of an ever-encroaching inferno. As the path opened wider and the veil of smoke reluctantly parted, hope materialized, tangible and defiant, standing against the shadows of perdition. As Jake and his team navigated the claustrophobic confines of the fiery corridor, the environment's hostility reached a palpable crescendo. The roar of the flames intensified, a primal entity determined to mask their course with a curtain of smoldering chaos. Just as hope lay within sight, a faint glimmer at the distant edge of their constricted passage, a treacherous tremor rumbled beneath their feet. Flakes of disintegrating ceiling tiles fluttered down, stirred by the ominous groan of overburdened supports. Suddenly, without warning, a section of the corridor wall buckled, surrendering to the relentless flame and sending a cascade of burning debris crashing onto their path. The air thickened instantly, barren of oxygen and seething with an impenetrable haze. Amid the disorienting swirl, a faltering step twisted Jake's footing, the floor's slick surface betraying his balance at a critical moment, the razor's edge separating rescue from imminent peril. In that heart-stopping instant, time seemed to fragment, splintering into countless echoes of despair and conviction as Jake's instincts engaged. Arms windmilled, defying gravity's curse, while his teammates swung into action, steadied by their unwavering commitment to one another. Yuan, closest to Jake, reached out with unfaltering precision, grasping his arm and anchoring him against the quagmire of helplessness that threatened to swallow them whole. The gripping contact seared through Jake's consciousness, potent and reassuring against the chaotic backdrop, inspiring a surge of adrenaline that ignited his confidence anew. The corridor shifted around them, proving they were still entwined in fire's dance yet not overrun by it. What could have signaled disaster was transformed into a testament of their bond and tenacity, their quick response tangible proof of faith, not just in preparation, but in the principles that propelled them forward amidst Inferno's titanic grasp. Regaining his footing, eyes set upon the ever-present tantalizing hope, Jake knew the way forward was not merely a journey toward safety, but a triumphant assertion that defeat held no lesser dominion over them. With newfound resolve kindled from the brink of failure, the team pressed on, each step a defiant act of will, navigating the harrowing passage bound for deliverance. As Jake and his team navigated the treacherous corridor, their resolve unyielding under the oppressive heat, a new lifeline emerged from the haze, subtly shifting the balance in their favor. Mike, a seasoned firefighter renowned for his calm under pressure and quick thinking, burst through the smoke from an adjoining passage. His sudden presence was both beacon and buoy, a reassuring symbol of coordinated aid amidst chaos. With confident agility, he carried a portable thermal imaging camera, a crucial tool upon which their clarity of direction now depended. This device, shimmering with the capacity to see through the smoke's deceitful curtain, swiftly illuminated alternative routes hidden beneath fire's shroud. This additional layer of insight, imbued with technology's promise, signaled a potential path tangled within the maze, a pivot point conjured from the brink of despair. Uniting seamlessly with the team, Mike and Jake quickly strategized, forming a tactical alignment between practiced wisdom and the critical perspective afforded by the imaging device. The flickering screen resembled navigational stars, pinpoint beacons delineating safer passages, their glowing guidance cutting through the cacophony of imperiled structure. Each glow revealed impending hazards negated or bypassed through decisive movement, circumventing collapse while marking swift passage amidst blazing veils. With this augmented vision, their fleeing path broadened in hope and precision, the previous confines dissolving into viable escape through every measured step. The atmosphere of urgency lightened anew as they moved with deliberate focus, freed from uncertainty's clutch yet crowded by fire's insistence. Team members drew strength from Mike's appearance. Through companionship emerged their renewed defiance, their efforts bolstered like flames transformed into sanctified light. The essential aid, embodied in both the tangible gift of sight and the unseen spirit of trust and brotherhood, changed not merely the course. It redefined perseverance in the face of towering adversity. Each stride carried momentum not as their mere passage, but as a declaration to master fate against fire's consuming rage, reinforcing their singular drive to emerge unscathed into awaiting daylight. Harnessing the clarity offered by the thermal imaging device and Mike's comforting presence, Jake's team advanced with determined precision through the tumultuous inner sanctum of the building. The oppressive shroud of smoke and heat relinquished its grip, moment by moment, as they deftly maneuvered through the treacherous passage. The world around them was a cacophony of fire's fury and the creaking groans of a structure pushed to its limits, yet within this storm, their focus was a beacon of unwavering resolve. Step by step, enveloped in an aura of purpose, they overcame each obstacle with the fluid grace of a well-honed unit, bridging despair and hope with every forward motion. The dark, oppressive tendrils of fire loomed, but their trust in one another and mutual reliance upon emergent insight drew them ever closer to their eventual salvation, brightening amidst the shadows of uncertainty. And then, almost imperceptibly at first, the smoke began to thin, revealing the outline of a stairwell ahead, partially obscured by debris but nonetheless bathed in a promise of deliverance. As they reached the base of the stairs, urgency propelled them upward, into the light that awaited above. Even the rugged terrain yielded slightly under the urgency of their mission, each foothold gained a testament to their tenacity and triumph over adversity. The stairwell opened like a portal into Sanctum's embrace, where daylight kissed the horizon, framed against shadows eagerly retreating amidst smoke's retreating tide. With hearts pounding a triumphant rhythm, their passage formed a seamless mosaic of resilience and triumph, an escape narrative stitched into the broader tapestry of heroism. Guideposts of light beckoned them to safety's open arms, the culmination of both immediate resolve and a commitment to emerge victorious beyond the terrors of fire's menace. They, together, had forged an indomitable spirit en route to renewed liberty, emerging from the world of flame into the fresh, free air swathed in the promise of new life. As they stepped into the embrace of daylight, the reality settled. Their victory was not merely against fire's wrath, but a triumph of spirit, unity, and the pure, radiant tapestry forged by shared perseverance.